What's up, rockers? Welcome to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast, where we geek out on all things rock and roll. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave us your likes and comments. You can also leave likes and comments on our Facebook page. Follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Instagram at talklouder_podcast. And of course, our website, talklouderpodcast.com, where you'll find links to our merch and all of our previous episodes. I'm Metal Dave Glessner, along with my co-host, Jason McMaster. And today we're doing something a little different, I think. I don't know that we've ever had a guest who plays in a tribute band. Today we've got Mike Mroz from the Dallas-based AC/DC tribute band of 20 years. They're called Back in Black. And they are a legit working tribute band. They do about 100 gigs a year. They play good-sized venues. They are the subject of a documentary that's currently on Amazon Prime. It's called My Stupid Tribute Band. And it's basically the story of the band Back in Black. And one of the highlights, if I say this, I try to downplay this as if I could, but they were actually contacted by AC/DC, who was interested in their singer Darren when Brian Johnson was sidelined with hearing issues in 2016. So this documentary, My Stupid Tribute Band, covers the entire gamut of what it takes to keep a tribute band happening for 20 years, how they got the attention of AC/DC, how they were flown out to audition for AC/DC. And it's really insightful and really cool, and what a great perspective.
I almost brought Simon up to Mike and because, we I don't know, forced quote, asked Simon about his audition for AC/DC because Simon describes it as he didn't know who he was auditioning for until he walked in and saw road cases with AC/DC logos on them. Right. So I'm like, what?
Yeah,
oh shit! Now I knew who I'm auditioning for. They didn't give him songs to learn or shit. They just, you're a drummer. Cool, come on in and play some songs. And he walks in and it's fucking AC/DC. So yeah. So Mike and they're based in the Dallas area. They're called Back in Black. Been at it for 20 years. Jason was even in the band for a couple gigs or something. Well, let me be clear. David Beeson from Broken Teeth as Malcolm has subbed for their Malcolm Romero, who is an awesome guy. He's a super friend. And I've actually kind of known Romero since like 1989. This is kind of an interesting, cool story. Romero told one of the first time that we talk about it in this episode with Mike Mroz, who plays Angus Young in Back in Black. When I show up and Romero's there, he's like, I'm like, hi, I'm Jason. He goes, no, I know you. On your first Dangerous Toys tour, when you came through Oklahoma City, I was living there and my band opened for you and you took us on your bus and we hung out and your video was debuting that night and you had us watch it there with you and it was awesome. And I'll always remember that. And like, that made me like feel really good.
Wow.
That this guy who was just in another band and I treated like him, he was in another band because it was just like no big deal to me. It was like, all right, rock and roll people. And nothing has changed in the way that, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to explain that little immediate care that we had for each other when he told me that story. It was the first thing out of Romero's mouth. But anyway, David Beeson subs for Romero sometimes. Not so much anymore because they're so busy. But some of the Back in Black guys have other jobs that keep them busy sometimes where they can't. So they do have rare now because they're doing so well.
Yeah.
And I have had the blessing and the great opportunity to sub for Back in Black, and it's so fun and they're so cool and they're so good. Off and on for a couple of years, I'd done, handful of shows on bass, and it was such a blast. So yeah, I mean, having Mike here today to talk about Darren's audition for AC/DC and inside of that, as well as the making of the documentary, which he almost pretty much sole-handedly made himself with his crew and friends. And I think he did mention that he had an investor, and that's really probably key in getting it done and turned in so he could shop it. And now that it's on Amazon, I would say that there's some returns, and it's probably going to do really good. I know I enjoyed it thoroughly when I watched it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and man, the thing I took away from it is just how good Darren is at playing the role of Brian Johnson and Bon Scott.
Yeah.
And it's no wonder AC/DC was interested in him. All the guys in the band play the characters to a T, which is helps that believability factor that we talk about today.
Yeah.
When it comes to tribute bands. So
we've had, we've talked about tribute bands and replacement singers, and to tribute or not to tribute is the question. We've had on this show before. You'll have to dig way back, because the Talk Louder podcast has been around for about 2 years now. So it's an older episode where the do's and don'ts and the goods and the bads about all that and how people feel about it. And we actually talked to Mike Mroz today about that exact feeling of the haters, as we don't like to call them, but sometimes they're a bit nasty when they talk about tribute bands. And look, people are just trying to have fun and find their smiles, and that's exactly what a spectator is doing when they're going to see an AC/DC tribute band or any kind of tribute band. If they're a real fan of that band, they're gonna enjoy themselves especially at a Back in Black show, because the guys on stage care and they do a great job. And getting to work with Darren and seeing the band live from the greatest seat in the house. It's not front row, it's in front of the front row. I enjoy being up there and hear Darren communicate with the audience and bash the guys in the band a little bit, and even brag on them a little bit, and be the front man, because he's not being in between songs. This is probably a good thing. He's not saying or acting out what Brian or Bon would do. He's being himself in between songs, way more than you would think. And that would probably be a cheese cutter, if you were going to actually announce the songs and pretend that was really Angus and that was really Cliff and that was, whoever the dude is next to you wearing a costume. So it was awesome to see the human side of guys just doing a great job of paying tribute to AC/DC.
Yeah, well put. There is a lot of human factor that comes across in this discussion. I think that's what I really enjoyed. And that human factor extends all the way right up to AC/DC. We find out in talking with Mike today just how humble and real and working class those guys are, even though they're legends. So really insightful. Who gets to tell that story? Oh my God. So
I think we end it with me saying something like, look, Mike, you didn't start a tribute band so you could meet and hang out with AC/DC.
Yeah, it just kind of happened.
You didn't start a tribute band so your singer could get so good he would be invited to go audition for AC/DC. And that just sort of puts everything in perspective. And you have to be a human being and think about business. And there's no time for fanboy and all that stuff. It's business. And they're doing a great job. It's dirty deeds, and it's not so cheap anymore. It's actually they're actually making money and doing well. And as we go to tape this podcast, my stupid tribute band, the movie about the tribute band, AC/DC tribute band Back in Black, is now #1 on Amazon.com. So people check it out, and you make a decision on your own about whether you want to go see these guys, or not. Yeah.
Great conversation. Great stories today. Mike Mroz from Back in Black on the Talk Louder podcast.
Mike, thanks for being here today. Appreciate it. Of course, we wish Darren could be here as well, but we know how it is.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
We do. We know how it is.
Right.
Me being lucky enough to have been invited into your inner sanctum, I feel blessed and lucky to have been able to work with such awesome people.
Right back at you.
Thank you.
We're always excited to play with you, buddy.
Thank you. That I have been there. I've been to the top of the mountain, and I have seen the restless tribes work with each other. And I get it. I understand.
Right.
How your camp is, and it's that the way a family works, that it's kind of like no one's drawing a straight line, but everybody meets in the middle. That's rock and roll, man. So
absolutely. He doesn't have a computer at his house.
Well, why? Well, he can, but
that's rock and roll.
Yeah, that is rock and roll. But amen, right? But he does have video games.
Oh yeah, he's got a PlayStation 5 that he uses hourly.
Okay. Well, he can play some goddamn video games, but
priorities.
Can't he get online? And I mean, we would let him play his video games while he was doing the podcast.
That would have been the deal breaker. Yeah.
Anyway, he's missed, and I just kind of wanted to see his face. But anyway, so let's just start with the documentary. Okay, so me and Dave have both recently, paid our $5 and seen the film, and I mean, eventually I'm going to probably buy the DVD just so I have the hard copy. But I don't even know really where to start other than I'm so glad that you did that, because your let's see, you kind of win in my book by calling the movie the very apt title, My Stupid Tribute Band. Because it tells the world, I mean, I already know how you guys work, but for someone else, like Dave or anybody else, to know how humble you guys are and real you guys are, just as musicians who, well, I don't want to, I mean, this sounds shitty, and I don't really know you guys well enough to be able to put words in your mouth and go, well, I don't want to work at Starbucks, and I've spent countless hours of learning how to play guitar or sing or whatever my instrument is. I want to do this, and it doesn't matter who wrote the fucking song. I want to play music. So I'm going to be a professional musician, whatever it takes. Oh shit, if I can do it with people I respect, why not? At that point, again, I bring it up. It doesn't matter what songs this band, how I'm dressing on set. I get to play my fucking guitar every day and sleep at night comfortably. Tell us about your idea, and then, reasons why you wanted to tell the story other than the obvious about Darren and the AC/DC audition.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, I've always called it a stupid tribute band. Jason, firsthand how hard it is to do anything in the music business, and man, I tried, as you saw in the video, and it was, I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a beating, and there's so many talented people. And when I was living in LA, I was actually playing on the Sony Music softball team, and it was made up of all the A&R guys, and that's when Randy Jackson was heading it up over there. And I got to meet those guys, and holy cow, the tapes and the CDs in their office, and all the bands that were submitting product, and then all the bands that they signed that weren't going anywhere. It just opened my eyes, the true business aspect of music and how tough it is, and so, I kind of put it aside a little bit, and then I just thought, well, I just want to have fun. And like you just said, I want to play guitar. And when I started the tribute thing, I wanted to keep it humble. I didn't want to be serious. I didn't want to think I was AC/DC. I'll never be AC/DC. I'll never be Angus. But I wanted to just have fun and do it, just a little side project. And that was my intention of doing it. I just wanted to play, for the love of playing. And so, I always call it My Stupid Tribute Band. And when I started doing the documentary, I did it because we made it to 20 years. And again, being in a band for 20 years is a huge accomplishment, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's tough. It's really tough. And so I thought, that's pretty special. So, and I knew I had the footage because I would always record the band. I've always felt the video camera was such a great tool, to record a rehearsal, record myself playing guitar, record the band at the show. And I kept all the damn tapes. So
a lot of people, let me interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
A lot of people don't realize, just, music fans or sometimes even other musicians, they don't realize that recording yourself is how you fucking get better.
Right. Right.
Oh shit, I've been playing that wrong for, when you really fucking listen to it and tear it apart. That's how you get better. That's how you work on tone. That's how you work on your technique. That's how you work on everything, is recording yourself and listening back. It's like watching the dailies if you're making a movie. If you don't do that, you go, oh, fuck, the microphone was in the shot. We have to reshoot that whole fucking thing. If you don't listen to what's really coming through the fucking speakers, you never know if you suck or not.
Right. Yeah. So I had all that great footage and I just took my time. I knew putting a documentary together would be a beating. I knew it would take a lot of time and I didn't know if I wanted to do it. So I said, okay, I'm just going to do the intro. I'm just doing the first 3 minutes. And if I think it's decent, I'll keep going. And that's what I did. I started piecing it together and I'm like, I think I can do this. I think it's turning out pretty good. And I had the story with AC/DC, during going to audition for those guys. I thought that could be my little pinnacle and my hook. And that son of a gun, it turned out so good. I'm so proud of it.
Yeah. Well, you should be. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching. I felt like I had a backstage pass, being able to watch that and see the inner workings. And I felt like I was meeting your earliest inception without being in person. So that's what I liked about the film, is all of the players, the ones going and coming, new guy. I came back. I have to leave because I can't do the traveling. All of the ladders, if you will, where the pegs are. Oh, okay, right. Was very interesting, and I think gives insight to just bands who want to. Young bands who are just trying to play rock and roll, whether they're original or a stupid tribute band.
Right. And that's right. I'm hoping that movie, it's appealing to all musicians, not just anybody in a tribute band. I think all musicians are appreciating this movie. That's why it's showing some success right now. But then I was going back to the title, I always call it, it's my stupid tribute band. We're, come on out and see us, and then all of a sudden we started getting the success. And then even after the success, even after the audition, it still felt silly. But then after I made that documentary and I put the time in, I looked back and I saw, holy cow, look at all we went through. And then I truly had the epitome when I was making that documentary. I did not plan it out like that. But when I came to that summary at the end, it just all came together. It's real honest.
What are tell us about the mechanics without getting too much in the weeds. But so you decide you want to do this documentary and you've got this footage and that's fine and good, but how do you actually pitch it and make it available on television? How do you get from point A to the finished product that's available to the viewing public?
That's a good question. It's probably a little bit like, if I may, submitting a demo to a label.
It's almost the exact same process as in the olden days, like back when we were rocking with record companies,
sure.
To pitch a demo to a record company. It's the same process with the films. So when I finished the documentary, I didn't let anybody look at it for a long time. I just kept tweaking it, and I finally let a couple of people see it. And when I lived out in LA, I used to work at MGM Motion Pictures, so I knew some people out there. So I threw it their way, and I got some more professional opinions. And they said I had something good. And what you do is, when you get a movie done, you submit it to film festivals, unless you get offered a deal right away by somebody. But that's like a shot in a million.
Right.
So you submit it to film festivals, and that's how you get some views, and some exposure. Then you get some awards, and you start building credibility. And then distributors are always looking at these film festivals, looking to pick up new content. And now there's so many different streaming platforms out there. You know, it's you can make a movie and you can get it out there. You know, it's not like it's not cutthroat. You know, but fortunately, through my help with the guys at the MGM, they helped me get into Amazon. They gave me a couple of names and a couple of references, and that helped me get on Amazon. So it was a great break.
When you use the analogy about a demo tape, so are you shopping the finished product, or do you hand like a rough edit to somebody and then they say, hey, you have something, and then you go and clean it up and finish it? Or is it done in this case?
I had a finished product, but you can do it both ways. You know, you can do a little rough draft, and then they'll give you the green light to continue it, or, you know, if you want to raise some funds, that's the way of doing it. But I just wanted to do it on my own. I figured if worst comes to worst, I don't get distribution, I'll put it on social media to be a great marketing tool for the band. But people were telling me it was good, and we test screened it here in Dallas, and it went really well, and that gave me the confidence to get it out to the public. And yeah, here we are. So far, we're an Amazon bestseller.
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Congrats.
Crazy.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So the band is called Back in Black. You've been around for 20 years, 2 decades of doing AC/DC, this tribute band. What got you hooked on AC/DC?
Always been a big AC/DC fan. Being a guitar player, I was influenced by the guitar players that were animated on stage. I loved Ace Frehley, I loved Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick, Angus Young. I don't care too much for the guys who just stand there and play guitar. I want to be entertained. And so I remember I saw AC/DC one night. Back in the day, to catch a great, cool band, you'd stay up late Friday and Saturday night and watch Don Kirshner's rock concert, Midnight Special. And I saw him on Midnight Special. They played Sin City, and Angus had his backpack on. And man, he gave 300% on that performance, and went out and bought Powerade the next day.
Yeah. I watched, there's a great video of Walk All Over You, and you watch Angus and you're just like, oh my God, he must have lost 20 pounds in sweat just doing that clip, because he's just a maniac.
Young Angus was a maniac for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So let's talk about your original music for a moment, because it seems to me, where are you from originally?
I'm from Chicago. That's home of the Bears and Coach Ditka.
The Bears.
I was going to name the album Ditka, but I couldn't do it.
Oh, well. Akadaka. Yeah.
Right.
In my stupid tribute band, Akadaka, Back in Black.
AC Ditka.
Yeah, AC Ditka. Nice.
If I would have known that.
Good one, Dave. That would have gone well in the Midwest, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you didn't just, 20 years, okay, but what about, I'm not trying to age you here. What about the 20 years earlier? Tell us about you and your guitars and your influence, and what's the first song you learned, and give us a little background on that. I know you touch on some of that stuff, but it's more like it starts in LA, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, growing up in Chicago, I'm gonna take you way back and make it quick.
Good, do it.
My dad was a drummer in one of the top polka bands.
That's right. You talk about that in the movie. I think that's kick-ass.
Yeah, and I'd hear a song on the radio, and I'd go see him play, and I'd sit, behind him and play the bells and the tambourine. And man, as you guys know, being in a live band is the greatest. Just the sounds going all around you. And even though it was polka music, they were doing some top 40 stuff. And
no, that's like early thrash.
Yeah.
That polka's like early thrash music. You forget about it, people, And
I've seen those Polish weddings, and I think those Polish people doing the polka were early thrashers.
The drummer is busy. That band is going for it up there, man. It's like it's early mosh for sure.
So anyway, I started on the drums, and in high school I'm playing drums, and I got sick of carrying the drums around, because you had to set them up downstairs in your basement, pack them up for rehearsal, take them to your friend's house, set them up, take them down, bring them back, bring them down to the basement again. and so I picked up the guitar, and back then I was totally into Kiss and AC/DC and Rick Nielsen, and I just started plucking away on the guitar, and it was my last year in high school, and just never put it down, and I loved it. And I had lots of bands, did some top 40 bands in college, and then I moved out to LA. I didn't move out to LA though to make it in the music business. I got an incredible opportunity to go into video game sales and PC game sales.
Cool.
And then I started a little side band of originals in LA.
Okay.
But I never went all in. And I was going to ask you about this, Jason. I always was practical, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think to be a musician, sometimes you just got to throw everything to the side and just give 110%, And I didn't do that. I was practical. I had this good job, and I was just trying to do the music thing, when I can. Did you go all in with your career like that?
No.
Okay.
I was practical. That's the perfect word for it. I had what I call disposable jobs.
Okay.
I work at Sonic Drive-In. I was a pizza cook. Whatever. I've roasted coffee beans. I've worked construction. It was similar to Darren's, a little bit like Darren's story, where
Sure.
in your story that you're telling, very practical.
Right.
I didn't move to LA. I didn't have any offers for any kind of work, so I could be practical out somewhere else,
Right.
Whether I was closer to the biz or not. I was very much, I'm a high school dropout. I was so into my band, which was Watchtower, for those of you who know my book of work. It was like, I'm rehearsing like 4 nights a week, and I have my own place. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of time for anything else other than work to feed myself, pay the bills, rent, and then go to rehearsal.
Right.
And we would play maybe once a month, maybe twice a month if we could get an out of town thing. And that was about it. And we were kind of had a good rumble around. Texas is big, thank God. So we could roll to Corpus, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. We could stretch out a lot. You could go on tour for a week in Texas. Every working band in the world knows that. You know this.
Texas is such a great music state. Yeah.
You know this because you're doing it currently.
Right.
So it was always practical until someone just saw us and went, "Oh shit!" And then there was a bag of money on the table that we just had to agree to take it.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, when I was out in LA, guys were like, "We need you to quit your job. We're living in this apartment. These girls are paying for our groceries, and and I didn't want to do that.
It doesn't sound correct to me.
Difficult to sustain that. Yeah.
So anyway, so I was knocking around. We did some original music out in LA, and we played all the rooms out there, and it was a blast. And that's what I get into in the documentary. But again, it's so hard, and it's so competitive in that market. LA is just, there's so many musicians, and it's so hard to get any decent time slots. And
during that time, for sure.
Oh yeah, it was, and they were doing the pay-to-play stuff out there too. It's ridiculous.
They still do that. That's still happening. Yeah.
No kidding, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. God bless Texas. That's all I can say.
Yeah. No shit. Right.
Yeah, I think if I would have stayed in LA and started an AC/DC tribute band, it wouldn't have taken off like.
So you're in LA, and this is the movie. We're referring the movie as My Stupid Tribute Band, which is basically the life and times of Back in Black AC/DC tribute fan out of the DFW area. That's who we're talking to, Mike Mroz, who plays Angus Young. So you're in LA, and Darren, you need a singer, and you know Darren already.
Yeah, Darren and I were.
How do you know Darren already?
We auditioned him for our original band in LA back in 1989.
How did he get to LA? Because he's from New York. What is he doing in LA from New York?
Oh, that's a good question. I know this. I think his brother moved out there to do a painting business, and
Okay.
he followed his brother, and he was trying to do that. And then he was also doing stunt work. He had a cousin
that's
out
right.
there. Yeah, so he knew he would go out there and paint, and then he'd do some stunt work. And we've got some of his stunts featured in the movie, which are pretty cool.
That's excellent. Something new for me to know about Darren Caperna.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So how did you connect with him then in LA and get this off the ground?
Yeah, did he answer an ad for your original?
Yeah, so as you guys probably know, a big magazine out there called Music Connection, and they always had a big musicians needed section. And we placed an ad, our band placed an ad, and he come bopping into our rehearsal room. And he has, as you've experienced yourself, he has a real powerful voice. He's a very strong voice. I mean, you have an incredible voice, and he has a very powerful voice too. And so we were doing the original stuff, and we started closing the night out with an AC/DC cover song, just for fun if we ever got an encore. And boy, those jaded musicians, all those people and the club owners, they just all of a sudden turned and looked at us at the stage because he sang it so well, And so that was always in the back of my mind. And when I got out to Texas, I started getting this to play again. I thought, man, let's get him out here and just have one night and we'll play. It'd be my bowling night, be my night out drinking with the guys, and we're just gonna play music.
Sure.
And first couple shows sucked. And then all of a sudden we started getting a little better.
And you're talking Back in Black.
Back in Black, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that genesis comes from an encore AC/DC too. Do you recall what song it was?
Yeah, it was Touch Too Much.
Nice. Such a good one, man. So okay. In the movie, if I may sort of pump the brakes for a second, in the movie, when you guys are starting this genesis of Back in Black, it's not really you guys. I mean, I think you might have been wearing the Angus outfit, but no one else is really trying to look the part yet.
No, not even Darren was really trying to look the part.
That's what I was saying. I think I see footage in there where he's wearing like a button-up shirt with the sleeves cut off, and it's about 3 sizes too big for him, if I recall.
And it was flannel.
Yeah, he's not here, so I can say it looked really bad. It looked bad. Yeah. It didn't even.
His head was all shaved.
Yeah, he looked like he had just gotten out of the army and he was a practicing criminal. Is what he looked like. Which can be threatening. And you know what? I got to say, the guys in Mroz Tattoo, and even sometimes in old AC/DC photos, they look like practicing criminals.
Yeah.
They're very real, blue-collar, hardworking, steel-working construction type people that love this sort of pub rock. I love bands like that, as I've fessed up my love for that idea of how rock and roll should look like and feel like. Because in the words of Angry, and I've said this too, Angry Anderson from Mroz Tattoo, he says if it doesn't have swagger, it's not rock and roll. So it doesn't matter what you're wearing, naked, shirtless, no hair, full hair, it doesn't fucking matter. And AC/DC's always flown that flag. So it didn't really matter to me a whole lot, but it's interesting how to get to see the morphing of what a tribute band becomes in order to make it, this is cheesy for me to say, believable.
Right.
For the audience to actually be able to squint and go, holy shit, they even look like it, so. About when did that start happening with you guys? When did you call a band meeting and go, hey Darren, you need to put some kind, you need to get some follicles, and you need like a tight shirt. Let's get this shit looking right, and don't just come here straight from work. Why don't you go and make sure, or whatever. What do you say to the bass player? What do you say to the drummer, etc.?
Well, when we did the first couple of gigs, we're just kind of, it was the night before that very first show that I decided, well, hell, I'll just throw on an Angus outfit and have some fun with it. There weren't any tribute bands, or maybe 1 or 2 tribute bands in Dallas, so there wasn't any formula or nothing really to compare ourselves to. But the first few shows, Jason, we we just want to see if we can kind of do it, I guess,
Right.
And then we started getting that success. And then in the documentary, you see when we did that big bone bash,
Right.
we opened up for Blue Oyster Cult. And I remember before that show, I bought the Malcolm guitar, the Gretsch for my guitar player, because I'm thinking, we got to look a little bit like them.
Yeah.
And after we had that success, that's when Darren and I sat down with the guys and said, you know what, let's really amp this up. We have something. Look what happened already. And if we really start, instead of being like Uncle Bob and my drinking buddies, starting a tribute band, let's try to do this really good, and do it proud and justice.
Look like we give a shit.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about the tribute band industry. There's some bands that do it, and it's just so amazing. Like, the guys in the Queen tribute, and there's a Van Halen and a Metallica tribute, and man, when it's done right, it's really incredible. But then there's still some bands out there that aren't really trying too hard, and it kind of gives the whole scene a bad look, I guess.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, because tribute bands and cover bands, whatever you want to call them, they've always had this stigma attached to them, and people will critique you and they'll say you're not playing original music, you're just ripping off somebody else, blah blah blah. But I agree that when it's done right, and you guys do it right. I watched that movie and I was like, okay, the guys, to Jason's point, your Cliff Williams has the striped T-shirt, your Malcolm has the Gretsch. Darren is a piece of work, man. I mean, he does that Brian Johnson thing to the max. I mean, with the hat, the brim on the the little move and the hunched over and he does Bon Scott amazing too. That herky jerky thing that Bon does with his shoulders. So you guys have clearly studied the band, and it's got to be, talk about the frustration of the stigma that comes with being in a tribute band when you put so much work into it.
Yeah, it's that's the one little down part about that. We don't really deal with it too much though, but I know some people frown on the whole tribute scene, but we're just fans of the music, and and a lot of great musicians in the tribute scene, they're like me, they try to make it, and it's so hard, and the music business sucks. So here we are. It's like, God, we learn how to play guitar. We love to play, and here's a great opportunity to get people into the clubs, and when people come to a tribute show, they kind of know what to expect, rather than if they come to see an original band. I love original bands. I love original music. It's just it's a different form. And it's pretty amazing how much it's grown. I mean, all cities now have, tribute bands, and UK has this big award show. So, and some of the real bands have become tribute bands. So
yeah,
it's crazy,
Yeah,
you're fucking right. Yeah.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that, because you guys are a legit working band. So give me a sense of how this, in the case of Back in Black, how many gigs do you do a year, and what size venues are you playing? Because I know you did a whole House of Blues tour, and those are good quality, sizable venues. So when we're talking to you today, I want people to understand the magnitude of what Back in Black does, because you definitely are not the neighborhood cover band.
No,
so tell me about how many shows a year, and what size venues.
There's a footprint. You guys have a footprint.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're so lucky. We've been doing about 100 shows a year. We're weekend warriors. And that's where the demand is too. Our demographic wants to come out on Friday and Saturday nights. It's hard for us to play, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. So we just align it on the weekends. You will hit a zone on a Friday or Saturday night. Like Live Nation has been so good to us from the very beginning. I've got such a great relationship with those guys. We've played all the House of Blues in a lot of their venues. We've partnered together, and we put on a huge tribute festival here in Dallas called Jack's Throwback. We're going to try to put another one together this year or possibly next year. And we play a lot of great festivals. The casinos are embracing tribute bands now. it's still fun even to play some good old rockin' bars too. So it's crazy. Like our rhythm guitarist Romero says, he says, I joined the band. It's like one day we're playing, House of Blues is packed, and one day you're playing this dive bar over there, and it's just as fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
important
to have that perspective too, if I may add.
And I wanted to hear you say something like, 100 gigs a year is nothing to sneeze at, so that's pretty substantial. And, and you've been doing it for 20 years and you've been growing this thing. And so again, going back to the details. So as someone who now has studied AC/DC inside and out, have you and the guys in the band learned anything about the music or the playing because you've become such students of it? Like you guys got to be meticulous about paying attention to the notes and the structure and the vocals and that sort of thing. Is there anything you've learned about AC/DC because you're so deep into it that you didn't know as just a casual listener?
That's a good question, Dave. I like that. When we after that first Bone Bash, we want to get more serious. Darren was staying with me, and it was back before YouTube, so we were ordering all these like bootleg videos of AC/DC, and we'd sit up at night. We'd try to learn all their different moves, and I sat in my room. I'm learning how to play guitar, and I'll tell you one of my first lessons about AC/DC. I sat in my office chair right here learning all those songs, and then it took me about 6 months or so to get them down real good, and then to start rehearsing with the guys. Angus, the way he jumps around and plays that guitar like he does, that's where his true talent is. I mean, that took a long time for me to run across the stage and play like he does. And he's so physical with his playing too, is what I learned. But yeah, their songwriting. We definitely been to the AC/DC school. We reflected. When Jason was asking about our original music, we released a record called Stripwired. And by being in this AC/DC school all these years, we applied that knowledge into our own songwriting process. And we came out with a great record that's heavily AC/DC influenced.
It's a great record.
What's it called?
Thank you so much. It's called Stripwired.
Is that the name of the band or the title of the album?
Self-titled.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, both.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry,
Dave, you need to hear it. I think you would love it. I have turned many friends onto it that like that kind of stuff, that like Broken Teeth, that like Rose Tattoo and Rhino Bucket and stuff like that. And it sits right there with it. It's, if I may, not to give a personal review, but it's blatant because it needs to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Because oh man, it just sounds like AC/DC. Thank you. Is how that conversation should always go. And if someone doesn't understand why we, all three of us here, appreciate that sort of like ball of wax that I just threw up in the air, fuck them.
Sounds like you've had this conversation before.
Well, obviously, because that's what they say when they hear my band. Oh, exactly. It sounds like AC/DC. I'm like, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Great inspiration to have.
What are your three favorite AC/DC songs to play?
Oh, good question again. I love, let's see. I've been getting into Riff Raff, the studio version. That solo, the studio version of Riff Raff, the solo is totally stands out. It's not unlike Angus's other solos. It's really technical. He's really soulful and bluesy, but this one is a little bit more technical. It's pretty challenging. So I'm enjoying playing that one now. I've got that down. I love Damnation. That one is just a simple little song, and I just love playing it. And I love Touch Too Much.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites, yeah.
How long did it take you to master the duck walk?
Again, that was a while. I tell you, the hardest move Angus does, and it took me 8 years to do it, and now I can freaking finally do it. On the breakdown of Back in Black, where it goes dun 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 dun, and he goes back and across the stage, skipping forwards and backwards while playing that riff. And I can finally do it, but that was pretty tough.
Yeah, that sounds, because that's kind of a hairy riff anyway. But I don't know.
Right.
You got your downs and ups, zigzagging the whole thing.
Right.
And also they play the B on the E string, and they're also using the B on the A string whenever they play those riffs. And so people aren't even knowing that until they have studied AC/DC. So do you, back to like you guys, wearing the outfits and actually trying to actually look, enough like the classic lineup of AC/DC when you play live, so it's just that more attractive. Have you heard people say, because I have heard people say that is the tallest goddamn Angus Young I've ever seen in my life?
I tried to get the surgery to get reduced, but it didn't work out.
Well, you don't want to do that. Yeah.
Watching the movie, I thought the same thing, and I could really see it in Mike's hands, because I'm watching him play, and I'm like, he's got these monster hands, and he's super tall, and like Angus is the exact opposite, very compact and small. But yeah,
well, that's why the Gibson SG is a perfect guitar for Angus, and I can't imagine Angus playing anything else. But the point that fits what we're talking about here is, let's see, if you're 6'1", 6'2", how tall are you?
I'm 6'1" if I stand up straight.
Yeah, 6'1" if you stand up straight. I'm 5'11".
I try to crouch a lot when I play. I try to stay low.
You're doing a great job. But the point that I'm making is that guitar is already small. So here's this 6-foot slender man with big hands playing this baby guitar, right? So you're having to press a button and deflate, to fit the cost, the idea of playing Angus in a tribute band. I think you do a bang up job.
Thank you.
I was thinking earlier when we were talking about, a tribute band that cares, will at least try. I mean, fuck, Darren even cuts his hair like Bon Scott, which is almost a sin, because who would want that? What the hell is it a mullet? It's a mullet sometimes, and it's not a mullet sometimes. So, he does a really good job, and then the hat makes it Brian in a second. But, without being an asshole or just saying anything not PC, however you want to slice it, right? I just want to go like above all of that just for a second and say, do you think that the tribute bands that have like a slightly overweight Paul Stanley are going to be as attractive as the ones who have the correct sized Angus? Or you see where I'm going with this? Right, I'm trying to be, I don't mean any harm. I'm just trying to be as no,
absolutely, yeah.
I don't want, because everyone loves rock and roll, and I don't care who you are or how tall you are or what size your panties are. You should be able to play rock and roll just like us. So, yeah,
absolutely.
But do you think that this band makes more money and has more gigs and is busier because, those guys are on top of it. They look great. They're in shape. They're making money. They know the songs like the back of their hand. Other guys are just kind of the different kind of weekend warrior. They're literally Friday night for 20 people, and you guys are like in front of 1,000 the same night across the street.
Right.
Do you feel like that is a truth?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like the bands that have the right look and give a shit and are so busy with it now that they actually did quit whatever, like, to quote myself, disposable job because the money's getting good. We do fly-in dates and play on rented gear now, all of that.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
so nice. That's so nice. And too, Jason, an audience sees through all the bullshit.
That's what I wanted you to say. That's what I was fishing for. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're up there playing with heart, and maybe you're not the best guitar player, or you're a little overweight, man, you're gonna win me over.
That's right.
You know, I can see that's your passion.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're just goofing on it, then get off the stage. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I see videos of tribute bands that are audio, you know, the sound, even the audio that I hear, most of the time YouTube videos or TikTok videos or whatever is shared with me. Holy shit, check out this video. And I'll see, and the Angus looks really good, really fucking good. But you know what? Standing in one place the whole goddamn time.
Yeah,
That's not Angus Young, and that throws it away from me. If they would have just sent me the audio, I'd be like, God damn, these guys are good. They're nailing the shit. But it fucks me up to see this. Oh shit, he looks really good. Wait a minute. He's just standing he's wearing out a hole in the floor, you know.
Yeah, I think the believability factor is huge if you're going to take it to the next level. And rightfully or wrongly, however you want to cut it, at the end of the day, this is business. And you know, a promoter is going to be more stoked about a band that looks the part, sounds the part, et cetera, because that promoter knows that the audience will come to that. The audience is not going to be as enthusiastic about guys that don't look the part, or God forbid they can't play. But you know what I'm getting at. So, you know, and that's, you can take that school of thought outside of the context of rock and roll. It's just anything in the world. If you're going to be good at it and get paid at it, and people are going to invest in it, you got to do it right, you know. And I think in your case, you guys obviously wear the right costumes and all that stuff, but you guys look the part and play the part and everything. And I keep going back to Darren, man. I have to say I was a little skeptical because I didn't know much about your band. I've heard the name because I live in Texas, but watching the video and watching him just nail that Brian Johnson, especially the Brian Johnson for me. He does Bon amazing too. Don't get me wrong. So give us a sense for people that aren't familiar. You do both Bon and Brian tunes when you do a gig. Is it chronological? Do you do the Bon set first and then the Brian set afterwards? And is there a point in the catalog where you stop with the Brian stuff? Like, do you do anything from Black Ice or Stiff Upper Lip, or is it just the classics?
Dave, when we started, we thought we'd do chronological. We start with, you know, Bon years and then go into the Brian stuff. But reading the audiences, we came up with a pretty cool formula. Now, the Brian Johnson stuff is the most popular. You know, Back in Black, you know, and Hell's Bells and Shook Me All Night Long. It's because our demographic is the AC/DC fan, and then the AC/DC fan that brings his wife, and the wife's like to hear, the Brian songs up front. So we hit them with some Brian, and then Darren goes off stage, and then we, in the middle of the set, we do all the Bond stuff, and then we figured you got to end it with Thunderstruck and For Those About to Rock. Mm-hmm. So then he goes off stage again, and then he'll come up and we'll finish up with Brian again. And it's kind of a weird formula when you take a look back at it, but it works really well. And then with the Brian catalog and the AC/DC catalog, it's so great. I mean, what a great band to tribute, you know, there's so many great material. We've done stuff off of Black Ice album. We were going to try to do Miss the Time from their recent release. That's a great song.
That is a great song, yeah.
Yeah. Great video too.
Yes.
But yeah, we're professionals now. So we know there's the 6 to 8 AC/DC songs we have to include every night in a set. Those people got to hear it. And then we get another 9 deep cuts that we can rotate. And then we have a great set. And it's a blast. You know, we're always learning new songs. We don't rehearse, right, Jason? We just tell the guys how to do it. And then
that's right.
Get it going.
Here's the set list.
Right.
This is mainly for Dave. I've literally waited until before I load the car to get the set list. And then in my drive to the gig, I'm listening to the songs that were not on the set list that I did with you guys last time.
Right.
So, and then sometimes, and I'm not complaining because, you know, I'm just following the leader here. I'm following the Brian and the Brian Bon and the Angus, is like, the songs I was shitting my pants the most on that had weird turns in them or something, you know, like Runaway Train or whatever. Oh, yeah. I'd be like, now we're going to do it now. And then No, let's not do that one. Let's do Touch Too Much instead. I was like,
So wait a minute.
Keep you on your fucking toes.
You were in Back in Black for a bit, Jason?
I like this question.
I did not know this.
Sub.
Okay.
How many times have I subbed? 6 times?
Yeah. Which player were you subbing?
Bass.
So you're Cliff Williams and Mark Evans.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay. Not really, but I play one on stage.
A handful of times, and it was some of the greatest times ever.
Okay.
And,
I didn't know that.
We should mention David Beeson too. He's also
sure.
Mike's got David Beeson in his hip pocket sometimes.
Okay.
Dave Beeson's probably done more Back in Black gigs than I have. So
I think he's in the lead.
Wow.
Yeah, we played that one private event, Jason. Maybe it was your first one. No, it wasn't the first one. On that guy's ranch.
That was the first one. I hadn't even met you guys yet.
Oh, okay. That was that. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And Darren thought I was the bass player in Dangerous Toys because all Darren knew is that I was this guy from Dangerous Toys. But that's okay. That's completely legit. At least he didn't act like, he actually knew who I really was. He didn't have any fucking idea. He was just trying to be nice when he introduced him when he was showing me around.
Speaking of bass players,
that was my first gig with you guys. The guy had llamas and woolly mammoths roaming his property. That guy must have had 10. That guy had all the money.
Yeah.
And we played for 12 people.
Yeah.
And the money was good. You don't have to say numbers, but it was a private party, Dave, and it was on a nice hunk of property out there in Bernie.
Wow.
Yeah.
So speaking of bass players, is your current bass player Steven Wilson?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. He and I go way back to San Antonio.
You're right. Yeah, San Antonio native.
Yeah, I remember him when he played with Patrick Kinnison in a band called Boys in Heat. And that goes way back.
He's been around, and man, he's such a great player, such a nice guy. He's got a great story about running sound for Nirvana when they came through San Antonio.
Wow.
Were you around for that?
Oh, no. By the time Nirvana hit, I had moved away from San Antonio. So
Okay. So, I have to ask him about that.
Oh, wow. No, I did not know that.
Nirvana came through Austin, but around the time that Nirvana first time hit Austin, it would have been the Bleach tour where they're in a shitty van. And so Dave, you were probably still in San Antonio. You just were too young or
maybe
whatever.
If he ran sound on the Bleach tour, then possibly.
In Austin, they played, I just heard about it. They played I think they played the Cannibal Club, which was down on 6th Street.
Oh, wow.
They probably paid for 30 people,
Yeah. So Mike, do you remember your first AC/DC gig as a spectator?
Yeah, I didn't get to see him until I was here in Dallas. It was 96. Summit Reunion Arena, and it was amazing. This is amazing. I had great seats for it too. I was in the video game business. I took my client from GameStop, and we were the 6th row. It was amazing.
Oh wow! That's the way to see it right there.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go ahead, Dave.
I wanted to address the elephant in the room now, going back to Darren again. So if people aren't aware, Darren, you guys
we should spend some time talking about that. Now, everyone needs to see the movie My Stupid Tribute Band to get the full gamut and rainbow of colors, because you actually have your crew interviewing everyone in the band. You're talking to people who work for Live Nation. You're talking to friends and family who everyone's trying to get a hold of Darren because this important these messages were sitting on someone's answering machine about AC/DC, calling to, who's this guy Darren? We need to fly him to Atlanta. Please call us back. And everyone's like, where the fuck is Darren? Kind of thing. But we should talk about this, but everyone needs to see the movie again. So Dave, your question was?
Yeah. The question is, you catch the attention of AC/DC. I mean, talk about the highest honor if you're in a tribute band. You're contacted by AC/DC. They want to fly out your singer to audition because Brian Johnson has hearing issues in like 2016. Can't finish the tour, an AC/DC tour, massive. Can't finish the tour. They're desperate for a singer. They find they discover
Live Nation
Darren.
tour. Live Nation.
Yeah, they discover Darren. They hear about Darren. They fly him out, and you actually go with him. So,
hell yeah,
so
I was going to miss that.
yeah, so you're actually in the, and he auditions with the band. This is not send us a tape kind of thing or whatever. He actually performs with AC/DC in a rehearsal room, and you're there. So, I was curious to know, in such close proximity, was there any mannerisms or any personality traits about the guys in the band that you would only be aware of if you spend time in close quarters with them that you never knew about as just a fan of the band?
They're
good question.
Yeah, very good question. They're a very, very tight family. They're all about family, and they're a very loyal group. Angus had his wife with him, and I got to spend some time with Ellen. And she told me she was there on that tour supporting him because it was right after Malcolm died. Mm-hmm. And he really missed, family being around. So he asked that, she join him. Being in the same room and watching Angus play his guitar, he is truly a guitar god. I've never heard a guitar sound like it sounded when he picked up that guitar, and just with his vibrato and his touch, it just blew me away.
I don't think it gets talked about enough. Let's dwell on this for just a couple more minutes.
Okay.
He is a master blues guitar player. You take it from there.
Yeah, a real soulful. I mean, it's all blues based. All the songs are blues based.
Of course. But he could be in the Rolling Stones, and he could play with Freddie King, and he could go.
Yeah.
He's a blues man.
Yeah, for sure.
Who just plays louder than fuck.
Right, yeah. Right. And he's got a nice swing to his playing that I really love. And but yeah, the guys were just so nice and so kind. And we wanted to be professional. This was a professional opportunity, so we couldn't geek out and be fans. And I talk about this in the documentary, and they rewarded us because they treated us like their peers. They wanted to know about us. They were asking us about the band. They're asking us about, the venues we play at. Angus was asking about, my amp and my guitar and stuff. And it was just, wow. It was just amazing, and they really made us feel comfortable, because we were really excited and really nervous,
Sure.
But another thing I'll tell you about meeting these guys.
It's beautiful that they did what I call, they let you in.
Yeah, they did.
Because of your honesty. They just let you in all the way. They opened the door and they just let you have it.
Yeah, it was tremendous. And another thing about meeting those guys is that they were all kind of rattled. They'd never been in a situation like this before. Here they are. They had to shut down in Atlanta. They're at the Four Seasons Hotel. They had 20 huge dates left, 10 in Europe and 10 in the United States. These are big arenas like Texas Stadium here, 60 to 1,000 seat, 100,000 seat arenas.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't know what was going to happen, and you could hear it in their voices, and
wow.
They were nervous, And Angus told me, he said, I have never missed a show. He says, I don't want to miss these shows. I got to make something happen, and that's why you guys are here.
Can you imagine just having to find a place to park all the semis? Okay, stop. Brian's going home, and you've got like 20 semis with PA and staging, and what do we do?
Right.
Are all those drivers and gear and everybody crew, are they on retainer the whole time?
I believe they all were, yeah.
Crazy how much money that they were kind of lose. Well, they weren't losing because it was a Live Nation bought and paid for. But the band was trying to make up those dates by doing exactly what you're talking about in the inner sanctum. By the way, where was this undisclosed rehearsal taking place? These auditions?
It was right
but where?
It was right outside Atlanta. They had us stay downtown at the Lowe's Hotel, and it was about a 15-minute ride. It was a professional studio, and please forgive me, I can't remember the name of it.
That's okay.
It was the Black Crowes studio, I know, that they always rehearsed at. And let me tell you, we walked into that room. It was a huge, one of the biggest rehearsal rooms I've ever seen in my life. And it was this big set of double doors. And that's when it hit me that we were really with AC/DC. I mean, Angus and Malcolm, or Stevie Young, I gotta say, they each had 8 full 100-watt stacks on each side of the drums. And it was, every amp was on, and it was the loudest sound I've ever heard in my life when they played.
They warned you though, didn't they?
Wow.
Yeah, they did. And I can't even describe to you how loud it was. I mean, it was the loudest sound I've ever heard.
No wonder Brian had hearing issues.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, but that's, Angus wants to feel it. And man, when he hit that first chord, you can feel those waves traveling through your body, you know? And
Yeah.
after all these years, you just had to keep turning it up a little bit, you know, but their stage volume is damn ridiculous.
Wow.
It was really cool. It was really cool.
I bet.
So how sworn to secrecy are you at this point? I mean, give us a sense of the degree to which you are bound to secrecy. What are they telling you before they fly you out? As far as you can't tell anybody, you know.
Yeah.
You weren't.
Yeah,
you were not in the room during, like, while Darren was singing. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was too painful. It was too loud, and plus, I felt it would have been weird to be standing in the room while they're rehearsing. I didn't want to do that to them.
Right,
you know,
kind of a weird body
Right.
guard kind of thing. That's not.
Right.
That's.
It was cool, and they said, you know, if you want to go in and check on them, you know, you're welcome to do that. But I just stood outside the room, and then Darren was with the band, and even outside the room, it was ridiculous. But they started. Angus said to Darren, said, "Okay, what song you want to start with?" And they had the Rock or Bust set list on stage, and Darren said, "You know, let's just start with Hell's Bells." That was their opener. And they just went straight down the list. You know, we thought it was going to be a 3 or 4 song audition. When they prepped us, they said, "Hey, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. You know, Angus is going to call the shots. Just roll with it." He said, "Expect probably a minimum of 3 or 4 songs, and anything after that, you're in bonus territory."
I was hearing all about these auditions, and I actually submitted some songs. I know some people and who knew some of their people, and so there was a list, and it was actually a lot of people kind of gunning for me around here and out in Los Angeles that knew people at their management and stuff like that. Of course, nothing ever happened with it, but the point is, my ear was to the fucking ground, you know, because I was worried about one of my favorite bands of all time, and Brian, and what was to transpire. You know, I was hearing rumors about Axel even that early, but the information that seemed to be the most truthful that I accepted. I was like, oh, okay, and it was the fact that everybody that they did roll through only got to do 3.5 songs.
Yeah, so you're saying Darren? You said Darren made it to bonus territory.
Tell us about
how deep into bonus territory?
It's in the movie. It's in the movie. So I mean, we're kind of blowing it a little bit, but you gotta see the fucking movie because it's coming from the horse's mouth. But I mean, I feel like, was it like, okay, you know, they do 3 songs, and it's like, if I was a fly on the wall in my mind, I'm like, Darren's like, you know, okay, I need a smoke. Angus, it was nice to meet you. It was, hey, all you guys, I'm honored. I'm gonna go smoke a fucking cigarette. Oh my God, I love you. I'm not fanboying out. See you later. This was the best time of my life. And is it true that Angus was like, well, don't you want to play some more? Kind of a thing.
That's exactly what happened, and Darren was shocked. I mean, and then so let me go back to Dave's question.
Please,
the secret
please.
question. Yeah, when they told us about the audition, they said, please don't tell anybody. And then when we did the audition, they said, can't tell anybody until we make an announcement. You know, please respect that. And I heard that they had hired a drummer, and the guy got on social media and started bragging before AC/DC made the announcement one time, and they cut him off. They said, sorry. So we knew we had to respect that. And it was hard. We told our loved ones, but we truly kept the secret. And it was really fun to finally let the world know. And then back to the auditioning process. I heard a bunch of rumors. They contacted Sammy Hagar. I was curious. Like if they had contacted you, Jason. And I was really interested to hear your story there. And really interesting. I was able to meet Steven Tyler in Vegas, and I asked him if he got the call, because I heard that he was asked to audition, and he said, yeah, they did. But he said that stuff was too high for me, and he said I had Aerosmith stuff going on, so I couldn't do it.
Stop right there. So Steven Tyler, who has the highest fucking voice in rock, says that shit's too high for me. Let's contemplate that for a second. Let's feel the heat. Let's feel the heat off of that truth right there. That's crazy to hear the man say that I can't do that. It's too high.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked by his answer too, but that was my exact quote from him was, that shit's too high.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I got to talk to Robin Zander too, and he said that they called him, but he's such a close friend with Brian. He wanted to have Brian's blessing to do it, and he said he didn't felt that it was right for him.
Right.
So that's interesting. So are we to assume that AC/DC, the guys in the band, weren't necessarily concerned with Brian's blessing?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
All right. Because I remember when that
situation. It's a delicate situation.
At this point, I want to intervene and say it's business at this point.
Yeah, I remember when
it's Live Nation has already paid the band. They have to do this. So
right. And I remember when it broke in the press, it was kind of it was a little unceremonious, if to put it delicately. Brian was suddenly out, and you didn't hear much from his side of the story, and AC/DC was pushing forward. So I guess we never really knew if Brian approved of this, and at the end of the day, it's Angus calling the shots, right? And Live Nation, apparently. But so I was just curious, because that's interesting. I never really gave that much thought as to whether or not the band, when you say Robin Zander felt a little odd about it because he wasn't sure Brian would approve, that opens up this whole can of worms about, wow, did Brian have any say in this or not?
I think what Jason said, it was definitely a business decision. They recorded that record after this all went down, so hopefully things are working out. But it was just a really delicate situation because AC/DC wasn't saying anything. We didn't, Brian felt, I think he had posted something that he felt like he was let down a little bit or something. I don't know. I got to check my facts, but it was delicate. It was very delicate.
So as we all know, the gig went to Axel Rose. I'm curious to know, what did Darren think of Axel's performance?
Good question.
We liked it. Social media was blowing up when rumor of Axel Rose going to join them. And, because Axel has a bad reputation, of playing shows and being a jerk. But when they flew us out to Buffalo to see them, it wasn't bad. It wasn't AC/DC. He was very humble. He's a big AC/DC fan. You can tell he's excited to perform the songs. So we thought he did a really good job. And Darren said, hey, I'm going to lose out to an audition to somebody to lose out to Axel Rose. That's not too bad, right?
No, not at all.
That's actually a badge of honor.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was interested in how bad hardcore fans were reacting to Axel coming in, and let me just say, saved the day. Because if you think about it as business, they had to do something. Whoever, let's say it was Darren that they chose, he's going to get fucking fried too. People were just mad that it wasn't Brian. So, okay, they got Axel. He's going to put asses in the seats. He's going to sell tickets. This is going to be a train wreck. I'll buy 5 tickets just to see this train wreck. I feel like that was going on. And then you had the other side where people were like, I'm writing off AC/DC forever. I can't believe they did this to Brian and blah, blah, blah. I'm selling all my tickets. I'm getting rid of my gear, blah, blah, blah. And then the videos come out. And everyone's watching those videos of Axel Rose fucking crush it.
You're absolutely right. That's what turned it all around.
There is a video, and I believe it to just be iPhone footage of Axel doing Thunderstruck, and I'm going to get fucking murdered for saying this. Brian struggles on the studio version of Thunderstruck. If you're really fucking listening as a singer, if you're really listening to Brian sing, if you're listening, you can tell there's a little bit of, that's a little rough, but fuck it, it's Brian Johnson. And I worship Brian Johnson. The point that I'm making is when you watch Axel do it, it's a piece of cake. He makes it sound so easy. They're in the right key. He's singing it, Don't Kill Me, a little bit better, kind of a lot better than Brian is on the studio version. It fucking sounds so good. And Axel is singing it like he gives a shit.
Right.
Yeah. I think Axel I think he took that gig and gave it the utmost respect. It showed his professionalism, the way he carried himself in the press, and he sure delivered on stage. I'm in that camp that says, wow, I was blown away.
Well, you have to
Songs haven't sounded that good in 20 years.
You have to look at it like he saved the fucking day, from a business standpoint first, because that means the crew got paid, everyone got paid. The band didn't have to give a bunch of money back to a corporate mogul.
Right.
Yeah.
And everyone got to work and they finished it. And guess what? They went right into the fucking studio with Brian Johnson.
Right.
To put out a great record, too.
To pay tribute to Mal. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought
Jason, you're absolutely accurate in that whole Axel assessment.
Everyone needs to get this record. This is a fucking great record.
Yeah, it sure is. Power Up.
Revisit this shit right here.
Yeah.
Power Up, AC/DC. This one's for Mal. Thank you for saying that, Mike. I really feel strongly, as you can tell, about the things that have transpired, and you and Darren having a front row seat to the whole thing, and your relationship with Live Nation and the work that you guys are doing is fucking great. I have some more. Do you got some more time for us?
Absolutely. I'm enjoying this.
Awesome. I love the conversation. I feel like there are, I think you sort of mentioned the haters. There's some haters of tribute bands. But I feel like the haters of tribute bands they either have legs to stand on, meaning that they're in a proper, successful working band and they don't understand tribute bands, even maybe the ones that are paying tribute to them. They don't understand, and they don't like themselves very. They can't just let it. I mean, it would be like the biggest band in the world, Metallica, and Guns N' Roses. There's 1,000 trillion fucking tribute bands. Why would they be upset that someone is gonna do Kiss? Same,
right?
Is it easy to do? Fucking hell no. To do it right, is it easy to do? No, not if you want to do it correctly, because it's going to be your job. Talking about you, the haters that are successful, that play original material, who are not so successful, who are, like, fuck these tribute bands. They don't even write their own songs and blah. They're not even looking into your personalities, where you've been, your history, the fact that you've had multiple original bands and you couldn't get a break, you couldn't get a hit, you maxed out all your credit cards and stole from your parents so you could go on tour or whatever. All of that dumb shit that young people do to try to make it, they did it. And it didn't work. So now they're in this tribute band that's actually they can pay their bills and buy a new car and have a nice anniversary vacation with their wives and blah, blah, blah. And they're in a fucking dumb, stupid tribute band. What do you think about this strange string of connection between someone who's in an original band but hates tribute bands and they're slumming it and they're seeing a tribute band play to a packed house 100 times a year and have like a lot of zeros on your tax return? Meaning a lot of zeros in the
Right.
in the green,
In a good
Right.
sense. Yeah.
not the red. Yeah.
It's
What do you say to them? How would you turn them? How would you? No apology necessary, but what is your feelings?
it's tough. Every profession has haters, and it's just
Yes,
what
you're
are you
right.
gonna do, and so it bothered us a little bit at the beginning, but now it's like, what can I do? I can't sit down with every one of these guys and say, okay, I'm in a tribute band, but man, I paid my dues, please respect that,
Yeah.
I
It's
can't
not.
do that, and that's one nice thing about the movie, maybe that'll open up some people's eyes, not just our band, and see that in the other tribute bands and cover bands out there. It's just, there's different types of musicians out there, and different forms of entertainment, and this is one that's really fun, and it's working for me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'll say so. I'd say so. I want to let me go back to the AC/DC thing real quick. I understand you guys were. This is the fanboy in me. I understand you guys were being professionals, and I applaud that, and that's really cool. But did you get to walk away with any kind of souvenir besides the memory? Did you get an autograph or a snapshot or anything, or was it strictly handshakes? Thanks for having me, and we're out the door.
The guitar techs gave us some picks, which was kind of cool, from their private collection. We didn't ask for them.
That's cool. That makes it better. Yeah.
At least we had that, yeah. But it's just, they came up and they walked me around and showed me all their gear. It was before, Trace posted that rig rundown with AC/DC. Angus's gear and his equipment was always a big secret. And they brought me and they showed me his amps. They showed me, a really great tour of all their gear. And just taking that home, even though it wasn't something I could hold, was valuable to me too, because then I could incorporate that into my tone and my sound. I learned so much. And another thing I took away that wasn't physical was I got to see their work ethic firsthand. I saw how they rehearsed. I saw how they completely finish their songs. They don't a song comes to an end. They don't do like a quick ending. They go through the whole concert ending. They have a real strong work ethic, and that really inspired me.
That's amazing.
That's the biggest thing I took away from that.
Yeah.
So it was a show rehearsal. They're not just going, yeah, that's good enough.
Right.
It was like they go 100% on how it's going to portray live, a dress rehearsal, if you will.
Right.
How it's really going to time. So it's like you're timing your show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bring us up to speed with what you're doing today. Obviously, Back in Black is an ongoing thing, but do you have any additional strip-wired music or anything else you want to share with our audience that sort of brings us up to speed with you today?
I appreciate that. No, nothing new on the strip-wired front, but what's really fun about the documentary is we incorporated a ton of our strip-wired music as background music. So hopefully that might be a unique way to promote new music now. Maybe in that documentary, people will hear our original music. The band, we've got some great dates this year. We're going back up to the Hard Rock in Sioux City, Iowa, which is an amazing venue. We're playing Sturgis again on a Saturday night.
Nice.
That's the second time.
Wow.
Another House of Blues, some great rooms. And I was going to touch on this real quick. I couldn't get the AC/DC song rights for the movie. I tried so hard, even with my connections with the band. When they call them sync rights because we're doing a cover version of their song. And they said AC/DC is not allowing any cover versions in any kind of movies now. It's got to be truly original AC/DC music. So that was a little obstacle I had to face in the movie because I wanted to include us performing songs, and I had some investors, I had a budget, to pay them, because to get put Thunderstruck, I think in a film now is like $300,000,
Yeah.
I was trying to get like 30 seconds of Touch Too Much, to show our first performance, but unfortunately they wouldn't grant it to us. And so I was afraid that might hurt the film, but so far I think it works, and it's making people want to check us out after they see the movie.
Of
That's
course.
interesting.
I think that, of course, I recognized the Stripwired songs in the movie because for about 30 minutes or longer, I was in Stripwired.
That's right.
I had to learn had to learn about 5 songs or something.
Right.
One time and then of course Dave doesn't know this, but you were ever so gracious to put together a really cool show, and I wish there would have been more people there, and we could have done more of these, but I don't think it probably financially worked out for everyone the way that we would have wanted to. And Dave, I'm just telling you this because you would have fucking loved this gig. It was Broken Teeth opening for Stripwired.
Oh yeah, that's right up my alley.
It was just a night of that kind of pub rock, and it was just iron fist in your face kind of shit for 2 hours. And
that was a fun night. Yeah,
we had such a good time.
I was at the House of Blues here in Dallas.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Wow. So I'm looking at the Gibson SGs hanging on the wall behind you. Any chance you've got an endorsement deal with Gibson after all this Back in Black and the movie and that sort of thing?
I do. They sent me 2 guitars.
Right.
They've been very generous with me. I'm pretty fortunate. See them? I got this guy right here.
Yes, show us the ones that Gibson recently sent to you because that's.
Here's, you see that? This is the Angus Young model, the signature model from the custom shop.
Holy moly!
It's just a beautiful guitar. It sings and this blew me away. They sent this to me.
Wow.
Beautiful guitar. And because I bought one originally, but the guitar fell over and it broke the neck. And that's how I began my relationship with those guys. And like, don't worry, we'll take care of you. And then it showed up on my doorstep.
Holy shit.
Wow.
And then after that, they sent me this one.
The silver burst thing?
Yeah, they only made 400 of these.
Holy shit.
Wow.
And they sent this to me.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
Is that cool? That's a cool little guitar.
So take that, all you tribute band haters.
Yeah, no shit.
Gibson sending him guitars.
Yeah.
Nice guitars, too.
See, right? God
Well,
bless
now
them.
they hate you even more. How does that make
Yeah, I know.
You didn't even do anything wrong and they hate you.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No guilt, no apologies, no guilt. Just keep doing what you're doing and finding your smile, as I like to call it.
Yeah, this band gives a lot of smiles for sure.
Yeah, most important thing. I really wish Darren could have been here because Dave, I think that you would have enjoyed his a bit rough honesty about certain things, maybe. But that's what I love about him. And I think that you guys are kind of the motor behind Back in Black. I think that you guys have kept this together and made some really great decisions together to make Back in Black what it is. And that's probably why you had to, another reason that you had to make this movie, because you had something to say and you've learned a lot about what it is you're trying to do, exposing the pitfalls and the awards that are still right in front of you. Tomorrow, the next day, you're going to fall down, you're going to get back up. You'll make mistakes, you'll rectify, you'll get a new guitar. for free from Gibson, shit like that. So I really appreciate you being here with us today to kind of talk to us about all of this. I think that I got to ask pretty much every question that had been looming since I've known you, because usually when we've worked together, the hang backstage is more like a hang. It's not like a Rolling Stone interview,
Right.
So
yeah, Mike, we do appreciate you joining us today. What a story, and what a career! 20 years of Back in Black. That speaks, no pun intended, speaks volumes to your tenacity and your perseverance and your passion for it. So good on you. And anyone that's not familiar with Back in Black, you can check out the documentary, My Stupid Tribute Band. It's on Amazon Prime. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's a fun look behind the scenes into what makes a band go for 20 years.
If you if you're an AC/DC fan, you have to go see these guys live.
Yeah.
Not just buy the movie, rent the movie, whatever. You should go see Back in Black play live. You will not be disappointed. Where can someone buy a strip-wired blue vinyl or a CD or a DVD of the movie, Mike?
Well, thank you very much. You can go to our website, backinblack.info, and we have a link on there for our merchandise, and you can get all that fun stuff.
And tour dates.
And tour dates, yeah. And thanks, guys, for having me. It's so fun to talk about this. That AC/DC audition, being in the band, I never, ever thought we would ever get to meet AC/DC. And like I say in the movie again, it's like, why do they care? We're just a stupid tribute band. They're the mighty AC/DC, And son of a gun, I mean, it's just, we just love talking about that audition. We'll never get tired of it. It was really a special time.
Well, it seems like, if I may say, and you can comment, you didn't start an AC/DC tribute band so you could meet AC/DC.
No, that wasn't the intention.
That sounds scary to me.
Yeah.
You also did not form an AC/DC tribute band, so AC/DC could hear you cover their songs.
Right.
Because that sounds scary as shit too.
Sure.
Yeah, talk about something you thought would never. I mean, you just can't even dream of that. That's it's just incredible. And I asked you earlier, did you walk away with any tangible souvenirs? But at the end of the day, it's the memory that you just can't replace. I mean, oh my God, who gets to do that, man? Everyone in this room and everyone listening to this podcast would just, you just doesn't happen, man. I mean, that would be amazing, just amazing. So you've got the best story of all of us.
and plus it gave us another big thing. It gave us credibility with the fans. Now we're not Uncle Bob and his drinking buddies in his tribute band. I got a guy that auditioned for the real AC/DC. We got to check this out, right?
Yeah. If you're good enough to catch the attention of AC/DC and have them fly you out and actually put you in the room, there's something working there.
So what would have happened if Darren would have done those 20 shows and then he comes back to Back in Black and sings? Are we still a tribute band?
I don't know. I thought that's a question I had, but I failed to ask it. What would you guys have done? I mean, what would the aftermath of that look like? So he does 20 shows with AC/DC, comes back to Back in Black. Where do you take it from that point? I mean, I don't know, man. That's a great marketing tool. Or does he go off on to some solo career because now he's done this AC/DC thing? And who knows, right?
Well, there's also
break his legs.
I also think
that'll keep him from leaving.
You guys are making my brain go crazy. Would Darren? This is probably more for Darren, but I'll go ahead and bring it and put it on the table so we can sort of look at it for just a second. Darren captures the moves and the look and everything, whether he's doing Brian or Bon Scott. Let's say he does these 20 shows. Is Angus going to go, okay, you can't really do your Brian or your Bon shtick. You need to be Darren, but just sing how you want to sing. Because
good question.
You're singing them, but when you do Bon, you still need to be you. When you do Brian, you can't wear the hat. It's too close. Axel wore the big cowboy
Right.
the Stetson, you know what I mean?
Right.
Which I thought was, he's like, fuck this, I'm just going to be Axl Rose. And it was great because he's just being however he wants to be. And the band had they didn't care. They were just go do your thing and just deliver the songs, right?
Well, here's what happened, Jason. We had a meeting with their manager and production guy prior to the audition. It was Sunday night. We met him at the Lowe's bar. We're having drinks and we're talking, and we're asking, what are they looking for? How do they want this audition to go? And Angus said to tell the manager that he wanted Darren to sing in his own voice. He wanted Darren to audition. He didn't want a guy doing an impression of Brian or Bon. And I thought that's really cool that he noticed that. Yeah. But Darren, during that audition, there was 16 years then, he went back to old habits. He kind of started doing his impressions. Angus got a kick out of it because when they were doing like the Bon stuff and Darren was leaning more towards the Bon voice. Okay. Angus was getting excited about that, Interesting.
Even after Angus sort of put in a request that, I don't want a tribute band guy coming in here and making this caricature move, and audible caricature move, vocalization. And then when Darren kind of, just for lack of a better term, slipped in some Bon or Brian, that Angus got a kick out of it. Was he visually getting a kick out of it, or did he actually say something to Darren about it?
I'm speaking for Darren, but I remember Darren saying that he remembered Angus getting excited after that first Bon song. Okay. He was and Angus was excited. He loves to play, and he had a good time playing with a new singer that audition.
Well,
that's interesting.
Yeah, because
those are the very things that brought Darren to their attention, right? It's there's this guy who does this AC/DC thing and he does it really well, and we need a singer. So it's those are the very qualities that sort of attracted him. But then they're sort of telling him, maybe temper it a little bit and don't be an exact clone. And then going back to Axl, Axl's already got an established identity. So it would have been silly for them to bring him out wearing the flight cap and all that stuff. Axl needs to show up and be Axl. But Darren, they could have molded him any way they chose. And it's interesting that they kind of were going to let this unknown guy basically out of Dallas just be the unknown guy.
Well, back to Jason's point, it was a big time business decision. And we heard this from Vinnie Paul after the audition. He gave us this insight, and he said that Darren, but they had those tickets sold to all those big venues, and who was going to keep, those people in those seats, an unknown tribute singer from Dallas or a name like Axel Rose.
Yeah. Big business, man, for sure. Yeah. As big as it gets.
I was gonna say, you barely touched on it earlier about how they were a bit rattled, I believe you said, because of the death of Brother Malcolm. And then when you think about, okay, well, we owe this company these 20 shows. So we have to do something no matter what. So this is just going through the dailies. Oh, we got a new singer coming in. Who do we have today? In hopes that I'm going, and you preface it with, hey, Mr. Manager, deliver a message saying we would prefer that he come in and be Darren.
Right.
That rattled, those nerves went away when Darren was doing his signature, sprinkling it in with what he does with Back in Black. And then by that point, and I'm just guessing, fly on the wall, no pun intended, the idea that, he's having fun, therefore Angus it's infectious, and Angus is just looking to find a smile because I get to play my guitar and there's a singer here. Oh my God, this is the best. Oh shit, listen to Darren, that kind of a moment that's where what, and you've already explained that in the questions Dave had too. It's kind of where my head is going. I hope that makes sense to listeners as well as you two guys, that's what seems like could have happened in that moment.
That's exactly it.
Any doubts or nerves that Angus would have had? It's weird thinking of Angus being nervy, but when you mentioned earlier that they're still in mourning kind of a thing, it's
right.
They had family there just to like coddle them a little bit and take care, and no wonder they had their crew and just, it's a weird time for them.
I love that you had that experience, because one of the things I'm getting out of this discussion with you today is that I think we've all have always looked to AC/DC as sort of a working class band, just real genuine dudes. There's not a rock star in the band. You don't read about them in the celebrity gossip mags or whatever. They're just working class stiffs, dude, and they just happen to rock, and that's what they do. And for you to be in that close proximity and be able to see that firsthand and share it with us, like when you tell us how hospitable they were and how welcoming they were and how genuine they were, I mean, it just makes you love AC/DC even more, if that's possible.
It just makes you proud. Like this is the band I've been tributing, at 16 years at this point. Wow, they blew me away.
Yeah. What a story, Mike. What an incredible story. People need to check out My Stupid Tribute Band. It's on Amazon Prime. It's the story of Back in Black, Dallas-based AC/DC tribute band of 20 plus years.
Everyone go to backandblack.info for tour.
Yes.
And you can get a copy of the movie on DVD. You can also check out Stripwire, their original material. You can get it on blue vinyl. I'm a proud owner of that. You can get t-shirts, I believe, if you dig the logo. The logo's cool. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks a million, guys. This was really fun. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave Glessner, along with our special guest today, Mike Mroz from Back in Black.